Hello everyone, and today we're going to discuss a very exciting topic on how you could actually change your life completely by selling your business if you understand how valuations actually work. And stay tuned, we're going to discuss how valuations work, how you can increase your valuation so you can sell for a higher price. And if you stick around to the very end, I'm going to give a bonus tip that is the #1 reason that sellers cannot sell their business or find it impossible to sell their business, and has everything to do with how they do their valuation. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, my name is Gregory Elfring. I am the Director of Marketing at Empire Flippers, where every single day of the week we help people buy and sell digital assets from our marketplace. So today we're discussing valuations, which is obviously a very important topic for both us and for you out there listening in if you ever have any inkling wanting to sell your business. So first of all, let's talk about what a valuation is. So a valuation, all it means is what you can sell the business for. If you ever heard of an entrepreneur say, I got a $1 million valuation for my business, say it's an e-commerce store or something like that, then what that person is telling you is that if they sold their business, they would be able to sell it for probably around $1 million. Now, there's a lot of caveats that go into that because their valuation might not have been good, right? If you get a valuation, you want to make sure you're using a trustable source, a reputable broker, or at least discussing your possible valuation with someone that you know who has sold their business, because there's a lot of different formulas out there that different people use. So a very basic formula, the basic version of what we use, is a monthly EBITDA. So a lot of other brokers, they'll use an annual EBITDA. We use a monthly EBITDA because we specialize in online businesses, and we find that's a little bit more granular and helps us to really decide the value of the business by using a monthly EBITDA. So all that means is we look at your 12 months of your net profit, and then we times that average net profit by a multiple range, which is called the multiple. And that can vary wildly. It could vary from 18x monthly multiple all the way up to a 70x multiple. There's a lot of different things that go into actually creating that range of multiple. But before we dive in too deep into that formula, I want you to know about the 2 different flavors of valuations out there. Now, these aren't like the technical names, but I feel like they can help you understand where they're coming from a little bit better. So the 2 forms or flavors of valuations that people are familiar with, this first one almost everyone's familiar with, is what I call the potential valuation. So the potential, based off potential, all it means is the valuation is actually based off where the business is going rather than where the business currently is. So you see this all the time when it comes to really big companies that have a gigantic market share, but their revenue or even their net profit doesn't really track with their market share. So companies like Uber, for example, which barely makes any net profit at all considering its size, is not getting a valuation based off like the reality of its net profit, rather is getting a valuation based off the lucrative asset that is its market share. So that's really how it gains value. Most businesses though are not Ubers, right? We're not these unicorn tech companies. So most of us, and probably most of you watching this video right now, are going to get what I call an as-is valuation. So an as-is valuation is very different than this, lofty in the sky market share valuation. An as-is valuation really brings it back down to the earth. So what we're looking at in as-is is how much net profit does the business actually make now? Instead of being valued off market share, you're valued off actual dollar amount that you're making after you deduct all the expenses. Now you might be wondering, why do we look at net profit instead of revenue? And it's a very easy answer there. So revenue, despite what a lot of people might think, is truly just a vanity metric. In a lot of ways, it doesn't really matter. And the reason why it doesn't matter is because you can be making a ton of revenue, say $200,000 a month, and you might have no net profit. Maybe your net profit is $1, right? No one wants to buy a business that is doing that much revenue, only making $1 at the end of the day. So what investors are really looking at and buyers are looking at on our marketplace is going to be, what does your business actually earn at the end of the day? That is the most important metric in the entire formula. If you just take that one thing away on how you can make more money and minimize expenses in a good way, then you're going to be very successful from watching this video, if that's all you take from it. But let's go into a little bit and break down this valuation formula real quick. So I mentioned already about a 12-month window. So that is called a pricing window. And there are several different ways of doing a pricing window. The most common 3 ways of doing a pricing window when it comes to valuing an online business at least is 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months of the average net profit. Now, each window is used in different situations. A 3-month window, which will give you the lowest possible multiple of all the pricing windows, is really only used for young businesses. Businesses are usually less than 6 months or 8 months old, and they're using that to reflect the reality of the business. But because you're only using 3 months, you're not going to get a very big multiple because buyers are just not willing to pay for a high multiple on something with a small pricing window. Typically, everything I'm about to say has caveats, of course. There's always special situations, but for most situations, most investors are not as intrigued by a 3-month window. So I wouldn't recommend using that window unless you absolutely have to. The next window is a 6-month window. Now, 6-month windows, they can be used just like the 3-month window, where business is just a little bit too young to use a longer window. But a lot of times they're actually used if a business is either declining rapidly or growing rapidly. The reason why that is because if you have a business that is, say, 24 months old, and in the last 6 months, it is starting to just grow by leaps and bounds, right? Obviously, using a 12-month window probably won't reflect the new reality of the business because it's growing so fast, the old reality no longer makes sense to use it as part of the pricing window. Same thing goes for declining. If a business was doing a ton of net profit in those first 6 months, and then the second 6 months, they're just tanking and they're flatlining and all that stuff, obviously the reality of that business has changed from what it used to be. So using a 12-month window wouldn't make a lot of sense. Now, you might think using a 6-month window on a hyper growth business will give you a better multiple, but in practice, usually that doesn't happen. And the reason why is because if you're in hyper growth like that and you have to use a 6-month window, just by using a 6-month window, you're probably going to get a lower multiple than what you got if you use a 12-month window. Also, investors don't like to see hyper growth as much as you might think. To them, that is a red flag. It puts some risk in their mind because they're wondering what happens when this business steadies out. Where will it steady out? When this hockey growth is over, will it stay up here or is it going to steady out down here, right? So those are all things you need to consider. Now, the last pricing window and the golden standard when it really comes to valuations is the 12-month window. This is by far the most common and is the most widely used, even in businesses that have seasonality. So I always recommend using a 12-month window because you're going to get the best multiple and you will also open up your buyer pool because a lot of buyers won't even look at something unless it's using a 12-month window. So keep all that in mind when it comes to pricing windows. All right, now we talked about a little bit about net profit and the pricing windows that go into that. One last thing on the pricing window, if you're looking to sell your business and say it's like an 18-month-old business or say it's a 12-month-old business, because this example works better, the last 8 months might be really, really good profit, but this first 4 months when you were just starting the business might not have a lot of net profit. So my advice is always to wait until you get to 16 or 18 months in terms of age. So that way the 12-month window is capturing the snapshot of your business since it made net profit rather than from day one when it was probably losing money. So you don't want those early days to hurt your actual valuation. So keep that in mind when it comes to your exit planning. By the way, if you need any help with exit planning, we're more than happy to help you. I'll leave a link down in the description below where you can schedule a call with one of our business analysts and we can coach you through that whole thing. Absolutely for free, by the way, no worries. Okay, so back to the valuation formula here. We talked about pricing windows. Now let's talk about the multiple. What actually goes into a multiple? Before we dive even deeper into getting you the valuation, make sure if you're liking this content so far and the other content on our channel, if you haven't watched it, shame on you, please go watch it because it'll help me in the YouTube algorithm. You can do another thing that will help me in the YouTube algorithm, and that's subscribing right now. Subscribe and leave 1,000 comments. All positive, please. My ego is very soft and fragile. So I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to this YouTube channel. It'll really mean a lot to us to keep producing these videos. All right, back to your regular scheduled programming here. Let's talk about the valuation. So there's 5 main things I want to talk about that goes into making the multiple side of the valuation formula. And that is critical points of failure, traffic diversity, revenue diversity, and age, as well as your email list. So I said those out of order for my outline, but let's see if I can remember the order that they're supposed to go into for you. So first of all, critical points of failure. What does that mean? This is a very, very useful thing. If this is only the second thing you take away from this video, you should keep this question in your mind at all times if you're planning on selling your business. And that is asking yourself, what are my critical points of failure in this business? What I mean by that is if this failure happens, this hypothetical failure, if this happens in your business, would your business be able to survive? A good example of this would be, and this is something almost 100% of online businesses that I see share in common usually, is the critical point of failure related to traffic, getting actual customers to buy your products or services. This is usually the biggest critical point of failure I see in online business. And that's usually because they only have one traffic channel. Maybe they're 100% SEO, and if a Google algorithm comes up and updates that, suddenly they lost all of their traffic, they don't have a business anymore. Likewise, if they're running Facebook ads, and that is 100% of their traffic, of how they're making money, and their Facebook ad account gets banned, or the pricing on those ads goes up, that makes them unprofitable, suddenly you don't have a business anymore, right? You're too traffic dependent. So that's a critical point of failure, an example of one. Which leads right into my next point, which is traffic diversity. So again, you want to spread out where you're getting these customers. And most online businesses don't do this, by the way. At least ones that we sell often don't do this. The best ones do. So if you are only, one channel and you're thinking, oh my God, I can't sell my business because I'm only getting like Facebook ad traffic, you actually still can. Just realize you're going to get a lower multiple, and you're in good company. A lot of entrepreneurs focus only on one channel because it can be difficult to expand. But if you want the best possible multiple that you can get, look at diversifying those traffic channels. Add some SEO, add some Facebook ads, all that good stuff. And the reason why this increases your multiple is because it mitigates that potential critical point of failure. And you'll notice that is a common theme with most of these points. If SEO goes down, but you're getting good Facebook ad traffic as well, then your business is not dead because of a Google algorithm update. So keep those things in mind. Ask yourself, how can I increase the diversity of my traffic that's sending me actual customers, not just traffic numbers? The next thing is revenue. So revenue diversity. And what I mean by this is that your business should have several different ways it makes money. Now, this is going to look very, very different depending on what kind of business you're actually running, but I'll give you two quick examples. So if you're a content site owner that is writing articles, roundup reviews, and informational kind of content, kind of like a magazine style business, maybe you make 60% of your revenue from affiliate offers. And within those affiliate offers, perhaps you have 3 or 4 different affiliate networks that you use for monetizing those offers. And the other 40% of your revenue might be display ads. So if all your affiliate income went away, that's okay. You still have business. Like, yes, it will hurt. No one wants that to happen, but your business is still fine because you have that display ad traffic. Likewise, if a certain affiliate network decides not to work with you anymore, you have multiple different affiliate networks you're already using, so you've mitigated those risks. The next, for an e-commerce business, in this example, is having multiple different products. If you have only one product or SKU, and say that business or that product is no longer popular for whatever reason, you might be out of a business, right? People might just stop buying them. Versus an e-commerce business that has, say, 8 different products, that no one product creates the lion's share of the revenue, they're all kind of spread out equally, that business would actually be worth a lot more than the single product e-commerce business, even if they're making relatively the same. So that is the power of revenue diversity. The next one is age. Now, this one you don't get to control that much because it's just, hurry up and wait, right? You can't increase the amount of time your business has been around, unfortunately. There's no levers for that. You just have to go by day. But this is still a very important factor when it comes to selling your business, because the older your business is, the more likely it has weathered multiple storms. The fact that it has weathered storms, overcome challenges and obstacles in its past, means that it might stand a better chance to be resilient to new obstacles and challenges that come about. Now, of course, the past doesn't always predict the future, but it does give that buyer and investor that extra layer of confidence and data that they can look at what happened when this business actually did face a challenge and what did they do to overcome it. So that is an important thing as well. And the last thing I want to mention is email lists. Now, email lists actually doesn't give you like a huge bump to your multiple by any means, but I find that especially in the online business world, there's a big misunderstanding on the value of an email list because they're extremely valuable, but they don't actually affect your multiple. So what do I mean? Well, the reason why they don't usually affect the multiple is because if someone builds an email list and they never email that list at all, they're just collecting people, then that email list has contributed nothing to the actual revenue, right? In fact, I would argue it actually hurt the business valuation because you are getting subscribers to an email list that you never use, and you would have been better off just sending them to a page where they could buy something from you and give them your money, or give their money to you rather, right? So if you're using an email list, make sure you're actually emailing them. An email list can be fantastic assets if you use it correctly, because it does a bunch of different things that can actually make your multiple better when you use it correctly. For one, it can increase your net profit potentially dramatically. At Empire Flippers, email is one of our #1 profit channels when it comes to actually converting and nurturing customers to sell their business or buy a business with us. It's one of our most fundamental channels that we have. And because it serves as a traffic source that we own, it can never be taken away from us, and it diversifies our traffic. Now, if you're running an e-commerce business or a content business, you can also send that traffic, like say you're an e-commerce store with 8 different products, that customer buys 1 or 2 of your products, you can put them an email segment list to now sell the other 6 products or so to those people. So you can make money off of your customers over and over and over again, and they're happy to receive your emails because they're interested in what you're offering. So those are all the ways an email list can really supercharge your multiple. But again, only if you actually use it. It is a crazy amount of entrepreneurs I see who build email lists, knowing that the old internet marketing line, the money is in the list, but then they never actually use it. It's very similar to like how people want to go to the gym because they know I should go to the gym. That's healthy. I know empirically it works, but I signed up for a gym membership that I don't use, right? It's the walk of shame. And the entrepreneurial version of that walk of shame is building an email list that you never actually use. So please use it. And if I'm on your email list, make sure you send me some cool stuff. Maybe you can even share this video. That'd be nice of you. All right, so those are the main factors that go into the valuation. And the obvious other one is your net profit. So you have your average net profit, all these different factors that go into making the multiple. The net profit will always be the biggest lever that you really have a lot of control over. And all these factors I just mentioned are the biggest factors to increase your multiple. But there's actually a lot more factors that go into what makes a multiple. So if you want a clearer understanding of where your business sits at, I would highly recommend you go to the link in the description where we have our valuation tool linked. We created this valuation tool as an automated tool. You don't have to talk to anyone at all. You just answer a few simple questions about your business, and we'll give you a ballpark estimation of what your online business is actually worth. Now keep in mind, this is a ballpark estimation. Obviously, we would need to look at your business on an individual level to tell you a much more realistic valuation, but it will get you started with some good idea of what your business is worth. And that valuation tool is based off over 700 different online businesses that we have valued and sold off of our marketplace. So it's based off real sales data, so it could be a very, very useful tool for you. And if you don't like to talk to anyone, great. There you go. It's all automated. And depending on the business, if you're a content, e-commerce, or SaaS owner, when you fill out that valuation tool, you'll get a bunch of email follow-ups that is basically all value added specifically to that business model to help you grow and nurture that business into being able to sell it for the biggest price possible. Okay, so there you have it. That is how a company can receive its valuation, or at least an online business. There's a lot of crossover. So if you have an offline business, a lot of what I mentioned also applies to you, just in the more offline-y brick and mortar sense. But if you have an online business, you have a very good understanding now of how evaluation works. So let me tell you what I was referring to at the top of the video, the bonus tip of why most sellers cannot sell their business, and it's all has to do with how they view their valuation. So most sellers, that is the very first business that they've ever created. And the #1 reason they can't sell it is because they're too emotional. Now you might be wondering, that sounds kind of like a jerk thing to say, but hear me out. This is the reason why that is. So when I say a seller is too emotional, usually that is the first business that they have ever created. So this business can represent so many different things to them. They poured all their sweat equity, blood and tears and extra time off their 9 to 5. Maybe it was the business that allowed them to get their financial freedom or take back their life in some way. It allowed them to quit their 9 to 5 so they can travel the world and have all these amazing experiences they'll remember for the rest of their life. Or give up their commute to their 9 to 5 where they can spend time at home with their family and watch their kids grow up rather than missing those precious moments on the road. So all of these factors, they build this emotional equity into the business we have built. And because of this emotional equity, we think our business deserves a higher valuation than it actually does. So an investor who's looking at your business, does not have that emotional equity. They just don't care. Like they think it's great that it was such a positive influence on your life, but that doesn't really weigh into how they're looking at the valuation. And when you use a broker like us that does valuations every single day, we're much more robotic in that sense because we have no emotional relation to your business like you do, right? Only you have that. And you have to overcome that if you're going to sell your business for a good multiple and a good valuation. This is something I see a lot of sellers just kick themselves in the foot. They will say like, oh, my business is worth way more than this. And then 6 months later, they come back and sell it, realizing when they tried to sell it at their unrealistic expectation, that not only were they getting insulted all the time by investors who were always lowballing them, at least in their mind, lowballing them, but they eventually ran out of people to talk to in general. So keep this in mind. This is a very, very important mindset thing. Like, yes, the business has a lot of meaning to you, but don't let that cloud your judgment. Just like any good marketer, put yourself in the shoes of the buyer. Why would they have the same emotional reaction to your business as you would, right? The answer is they probably wouldn't. They would be looking at the hard facts of your numbers, of your P&L, of your traffic, of your analytics, all that kind of stuff. So don't let your emotions cloud your judgment when it comes to your valuation. And if you use a broker like us that has literally done valuations on hundreds of business, perhaps thousands at this point, in fact, I know it's thousands at this point, then listen to what we have to say. You might not like what you hear, but it will be the truth. And if you do get a valuation you don't like, well, that's exactly what our exit planning is for. When you give us a call and we do the exit planning with you, we will tell you what you can do to get closer to the valuation you want. Now, if you have a total unrealistic valuation in your head, that might be an impossible task for you. But if you have a realistic valuation, maybe you want to get a 1 or 2x bump higher than what we gave you, then we can give you some advice on how to get there. So with all that said, I hope you really enjoyed this video and you learned a lot about how a business valuation works. And remember, don't let your emotions stop you from having a potentially life-changing, lucrative exit in your business. So tell me down in the comments below, would you ever sell your business? Why would you sell your business? And what would you do with all the capital you got when you did sell your business? Maybe it's a new project, maybe it's a really awesome vacation. Maybe you'll buy, I don't know, something cool for yourself. Let me know down in the comments below, as I always love to hear what people have to say. And if you did like this video, please go ahead and subscribe while you're leaving that comment, because it does help me with the YouTube algorithm. And like I said, helps my fragile ego. So again, if you want to get your free valuation, you can go ahead and hit the link down below and just answer a few questions, and we will pop out that automated valuation for you. Talk to you guys soon.